Silicate.
Silicate.
Silicon.
Silicon.
Silicon chip.
Silicon chip.
Silicone.
Silicone. Silicon implant.
Silicone implant.
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
Silk.
Silk.
Pure silk stockings.
A beautiful dress in raw silk.
His practice quickly grew, and he took silk in 1988. Silken.
Silken.
Her silken hair. A silken handkerchief.
Silkscreen.
Silkscreen.
Silkworm.
Silkworm.
Silky.
Silky.
Silky fur.
The silky fabric of her dress.
Sill.
Sill.
Syllabub.
Syllabub.
Silly.
Silly.
Stop asking silly questions.
You made a lot of silly mistakes.
I left my keys at home, which was a pretty silly thing to do. Should we go for a walk? Don't be silly, it's dark.
I feel so silly in this outfit.
A silly hat.
I hate their parties. We always end up playing silly games.
They served us coffee in these silly little cups. No, silly, I didn't mean that.
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy.
Silly season.
Silly season.
Silo.
Silo.
Silt.
Silt.
The old harbour silted up years ago.
Sylvan.
Sylvan.
Silver.
Silver.
A silver necklace. Cups made of solid silver.
It was my job to polish the silver.
The lake sparkled with shades of blue and silver. This season's colours are rich golds and elegant silvers. He won a silver at the last Olympics.
He put his hand into his pocket and brought out a handful of silver.
A silver teapot. A silver coin.
A solid silver brooch.
An old man with silver hair.
He had a scholarship handed to him on a silver platter.
There is no silver bullet for this problem.
The farmhouse appeared, silvered by the moon.
Silver anniversary.
Silver anniversary.
Silver birch.
Silver birch.
Silver dollar.
Silver dollar.
Silverfish.
Silverfish.
Silver foil.
Silver foil.
Silver jubilee.
Silver jubilee.
The Queen's Silver Jubilee.
Silver medal.
Silver medal.
Silver paper.
Silver paper.
Silver plate.
Silver plate.
A silver-plated candlestick.
Silver screen.
Silver screen.
Stars of the silver screen.
Silversmith.
Silversmith.
Silver surfer.
Silver surfer. Many silver surfers use the internet to keep in touch with their grandchildren.
Silver-tongued.
Silver-tongued.
Silverware.
Silverware.
The club has not yet given up hope of ending the season with some silverware.
Silver wedding anniversary.
Silver wedding anniversary. A party to celebrate their silver wedding anniversary.
Silvery.
Her silvery hair.
The silvery light of the moon.
Clara gave a small silvery laugh.
SIM card.
SIM card.
Simeon.
Simeon.
His dark hair and simian features.
Simian diseases.
Similar.
Similar.
We have similar tastes in music.
Both approaches seem to achieve similar results.
A number of his friends had been affected in a similar way.
The two products look quite similar.
Her ideas are quite similar to mine.
The two cars are very similar in size and design.
The two groups have broadly similar aims.
The speech was strikingly similar to one given by the American president earlier this year. Similarity.
Similarity.
There are some striking similarities between the two plays.
The song's close similarity to traditional Jewish music.
The present crisis bears some similarity to the oil crisis of the 1970s, the similarity of their names. I was struck by the similarities in their early lives.
The police are checking for similarities with other recent attacks in the area.
There are similarities with German, though Yiddish is a distinct language.
They are both blonde, but there the similarity ends.
Similarly.
Similarly.
The first letter she wrote me was less than a page long, and her second letter was similarly brief.
The cost of food and clothing has come down in recent years. Similarly, fuel prices have fallen quite considerably. Simile.
Simile.
Simmer.
Simmer.
Bring the soup to the boil, and allow it to simmer gently for about half an hour.
He was left simmering with rage.
The row has been simmering for some time.
Violent revolt was simmering in the country.
We decided she needed some time to simmer down. Bring the vegetables to a simmer.
Simnel cake.
Simnel cake.
Simpatico.
Simpatico.
We're simpatico about most things.
Simper.
Simper.
Betsy simpered at him as she spoke. A silly, simpering girl.
Simple.
Simple.
A simple but effective solution to the problem.
There is no simple answer to this question.
I'm sure there's a perfectly simple explanation.
Modern cameras are very simple to use.
There are relatively simple exercises to build strength.
We want to keep the costumes as simple as possible.
We can't pay people any more money until the company is more profitable. I'm afraid it's as simple as that.
She dressed with simple elegance.
Simple but delicious food.
A building constructed in a simple classic style.
Completing the race is not just a simple matter of physical fitness.
The simple fact is, he's not very good at his job. Their motive was greed, pure and simple.
It's a very simple machine.
They evolved from simple life forms that existed millions of years ago.
Joe was just a simple farmer.
I'm afraid Luke's a bit simple.
Simple fracture.
Simple fracture.
Simple interest.
Simple interest.
Simple-minded.
Simple-minded.
Simpleton.
Simpleton.
Simplicity.
Simplicity.
Mona wrote with a beautiful simplicity of style.
For the sake of simplicity, the tax form is divided into 3 sections.
James's solution to this problem was simplicity itself.
Simplify.
Simplify.
An attempt to simplify the tax system.
The law needs to be simplified.
A simplified version of the game.
These figures are a simplification. The real situation is much more complicated than this.
Simplistic.
Simplistic.
This is a very simplistic approach to the problem.
Simply.
Simply.
This work is simply not good enough.
He simply won't accept the committee's decision. That would be simply wonderful.
It is quite simply the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard.
Some students lose marks simply because they don't read the question properly.
It's not simply a question of money.
What we need is not simply a smaller organisation, but a more efficient one.
Simply fill in the coupon and take it to your local store.
Try to express yourself more simply.
To put it simply, the tax cuts mean the average person will be about 3% better off.
We had to live very simply on my father's small salary.
Simulacrum.
Simulacrum.
Simulate.
Simulate.
A machine that simulates conditions in space. Interviews can be simulated in the classroom.
He found it impossible to simulate grief.
Simulated.
Simulated.
A simulated nuclear explosion.
She looked at the report with simulated interest.
Simulation.
Simulation.
A computer simulation used to train airline pilots.
A simulation of a rainforest environment.
Simulator.
Simulator.
A flight simulator.
Simulcast.
Her keynote speech at the conference is going to be simulcast on the web. Simultaneous.
Simultaneous.
They grabbed each other's hands in simultaneous panic.
Up to 20 users can have simultaneous access to the system.
The withdrawal of British troops should be simultaneous with that of US forces.
The speeches will be broadcast live with simultaneous translation into English.
The opera will be broadcast simultaneously on television and radio.
Sin.
Sin.
The sin of pride.
She needed to confess her sins and ask for forgiveness.
He knew that he had committed a terrible sin.
There's so much lovely food here, it would be a sin to waste it.
I saw Margaret this morning looking miserable as sin. I work at head office now, for my sins.
You have sinned against God.
Sin bin.
Sin bin.
Since.
Since.
We've been waiting here since 2 o'clock.
I haven't played rugby since I left university.
She left London 10 years ago and I haven't seen her since.
The factory has been here since the 1970s.
It was exactly 5 years since her father had died. Since the end of the war, over 5,000 prisoners have been released.
He lost his job 5 years ago, but has since found other work.
I left school in 1995 and since then I've lived in London.
We've been friends ever since we were at school together.
She's been terrified of the sound of aircraft ever since the crash.
We came to the UK in 1974 and have lived here ever since.
Since you are unable to answer, perhaps we should ask someone else.
Since when have you been interested in my feelings?
I've long since forgiven her for what she did.
Sincere.
Sincere.
I would like to say a sincere thank you to everyone who has helped and supported me.
Please accept my sincere apologies.
His sincere desire to find out the truth.
A warm-hearted, sincere man.
They were obviously sincere in their beliefs.
I wasn't sure that he was sincere in what he was saying. Sincerely.
Sincerely.
I sincerely hope I'll see her again.
We are sincerely grateful for your help.
Sincerity.
Sincerity.
I don't doubt her sincerity, but I think she's got her facts wrong.
May I say, in all sincerity, that we could not have achieved this much without your help and support.
T. Sign.
Sign.
Sinecure.
Sinecure.
Sine qua non.
Sine qua non.
The control of inflation is a sine qua non for economic stability.
Sinew.
Sinew.
The sinews on his neck stood out like knotted string. They have begun building the sinews of an independent nation.
Sinewy.
Sinewy.
A big man with long, sinewy arms.
Sinful.
Sinful.
Dancing was believed to be sinful.
A wicked, sinful man.
A sinful waste of taxpayers' money.
Sing.
Sing.
She can sing beautifully.
Most children enjoy singing. We had a great time singing some of the old songs. My mother used to sing to me when I was young. He was singing to himself quietly.
Come on, sing us a song.
I've never been able to sing in tune.
She patiently sang the baby to sleep. I could hear the birds singing outside my window. A kettle was singing on the stove.
A bullet sang past my ear.
Mrs. Edwards was singing your praises today.
You're singing a different tune now.
Union representatives are all singing from the same hymn sheet on the issue of pay.
I think he'll sing.
Sing along if you know the words.
Jess was singing along to the radio.
Freeze! A shrill voice sang out. Sing up, boys, I can't hear you.
Sing along.
Sing along.
Singe.
Singe.
The flames had singed her hair.
Singer.
Singer.
Her favourite pop singer.
A famous Italian opera singer. The lead singer of Slade.
Tina Turner's backing singers.
Singer-songwriter.
Singer-songwriter.
Singing.
Singing.
He entered the Royal College of Music to study singing.
Single.
Single.
A single tree gave shade from the sun.
They won the game by a single point. The highest price ever paid for a single work of art.
A single-sex school.
Don't write down every single word I say.
He works every single day.
The plane was brought down safely and not a single passenger was killed.
We didn't get a single reply to the advertisement.
Cigarette smoking is the single most important cause of lung cancer.
The changes in tax rates will benefit single people the most.
Is he single?
You have to pay extra for a single room.
Have you heard their latest single?
I prefer playing singles.
Who won the women's singles?
The show is especially popular among young singles.
A singles night at the club.
A single to Oxford, please.
Anybody have 5 singles?
I'm afraid we haven't got any singles available.
I don't see why he should be singled out for special treatment. One programme was singled out as being particularly good.
Single-breasted.
Single-breasted.
Single cream.
Single cream.
Single combat.
Single combat.
He had already defeated an enemy champion in single combat.
Single currency.
Single currency.
Europe is moving steadily towards a single currency.
Single-decker.
Single decker.
A single-decker bus. Single figures.
Single figures.
Interest rates have stayed in single figures for over a year now.
The number of cases of the disease is now down to single figures.
Single file.
Single file.
We walked in single file across the bridge.
Single-handedly.
Single-handedly.
She brought up 3 children single-handedly.
A single-handed voyage across the Atlantic.
Single honours.
Single honors.
Single market.
Single market.
Single-minded.
Single-minded.
A tough, single-minded lady. He worked with single-minded determination.
Singleness.
Singleness.
Single parent.
Single parent.
Singlet.
Singlet.
Single track road.
Single track road.
Singly.
Singly.
Plant the tree singly or in small groups.
Sing-sing.
Sing-sing.
Sing-song.
Sing-song.
I recognized her soft sing-song immediately.
We had a bit of a sing-song later.
A sing-song voice.
Singular.
Singular.
The singular form of the noun. If the subject is singular, use a singular verb.
He showed a singular lack of tact in the way he handled the situation. A singular achievement.
I wondered why she was behaving in so singular a fashion.
Datum is the singular of data.
Should the verb be in the singular or the plural?
Singularity.
Singularity.
He had an attractive singularity of viewpoint.
Singularly.
Singularly.
A singularly foolish plan.
He has singularly failed to live up to his promises.
Sinhalese.
Sinhalese.
Sinister.
Sinister.
There was something sinister about Mr. Scott's death.
There is a sinister side to these events.
He was a handsome man in a sinister sort of way.
A sinister atmosphere.
Sink.
Sink.
Their motorboat struck a rock and began to sink.
The kids watched as the coins sank to the bottom of the pool.
The heavy guns sank up to their barrels in the mud.
A luxury yacht was sunk in a bomb attack yesterday.
The sun was sinking behind the coconut palms.
Her chin sank onto her chest and she looked despairing.
She let out a groan and sank into a chair.
He let go of her shoulders, and she sank at once to the floor. Marion sank down on a rock and wept.
The minister sank to his knees and prayed. They lost all their money and sank into desperate poverty.
The good mood left me, and I sank into depression.
The doctor said that the boy was sinking fast. His heart sank the way it always did when she left him.
She felt desperately tired and her spirits sank.
Shares in the company have sunk as low as 620 pence.
The population of the village sank to just a few families.
Her voice sank to a whisper.
I had a sinking feeling inside as I realized I was going to fail yet again.
If I don't get paid by next week, I'll really be sunk. He made a few records which all sank without trace.
How could he have sunk so low?
The dog sank its teeth into my arm.
She sank her fork into the pie. A well was sunk in the back garden, and water could be pumped up into the kitchen.
They don't give you a lot of guidance. You're just left to sink or swim, really.
They sank their entire savings into their house.
Nations must sink their differences to achieve greater security.
We sank a few pints at the pub first. He paused a moment for his words to sink in.
The implications of Labour's defeat were beginning to sink in.
Dirty plates were piled high in the sink. Go to almost any city and you find sink estates where you get the feeling that the council hates the place and the people too. Go to almost any city and you find sink estates where you get the feeling that the council hates the place and the people too.
Sinker.
Sinker.
Sinking fund.
Sinking fund.
Sinner.
Sinner.
Sino.
Sino.
Sino-Japanese trade.
A sinologist.
Sinuous.
Sinuous.
The sinuous grace of a cat. They followed the sinuous trail deep into the mountains.
Sinus.
Sinus.
Blocked sinuses.
A sinus infection.
Sinusitis.
Sinusitis.
Sip. Sip.
She was sitting at the table, sipping her coffee.
He sipped at his wine with pleasure.
A sip of water.
She poured more wine and took a sip.
Siphon.
Siphon.
It took him only a few minutes to siphon off the petrol and drive away.
Crews began siphoning oil from the leaking boat.
Emergency aid was siphoned off by foreign ministry officials for their own use.
I found she had siphoned thousands of dollars from our bank account.
Sipping lid.
Sipping lid.
Sir.
Sir.
Report back to me in an hour, Sergeant. Yes, sir. Can I help you, sir?
Sir, you dropped your wallet.
Sir Paul McCartney. Sir Jasper.
Sir, I've forgotten my homework. Look out, Sir's coming back.
I will not have that man in my home, no, sir.
Sire.
Sire.
The people await you, sire.
A stallion that has sired several race winners.
Sam sired 8 children.
Siren.
Siren.
The wail of the ambulance sirens.
I heard police sirens in the distance.
Siren voices calling for the sale of weapons to the region.
A Hollywood siren.
Sir Humphrey.
Sir Humphrey.
Sirloin.
Sirloin.
Sirocco.
Sirocco.
Sis.
Sis.
Sisal.
Sisal.
Sissy.
Sissy.
Sister.
Sister.
Janet and Abby are sisters.
He has 2 sisters and a brother. My older sister is a nurse.
Where's your little sister?
She's my twin sister.
The Daily Post's sister paper, the Liverpool Echo. Good morning, Sister Mary. The ward sister. I'm feeling a bit better today, sister.
We appeal to our sisters all over the world to stand by us.
Sisterhood.
Sisterhood.
The special bond of sisterhood that joins women together.
The Christian sisterhood.
Sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
Sisterly.
Sisterly.
She gave Lee a sisterly kiss.
Their friendship can best be described as sisterly.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Sisyphus.
Sit.
Sit.
I sat on the shore and looked at the sea.
She was sitting in a chair by the fire.
She's the girl who sits next to me at school.
In the driving seat sat a man of average height. Jean sat at the table writing a letter.
They sat sipping their drinks.
We used to sit and listen to her for hours.
He came over and sat beside her.
Sam sat opposite her and accepted a cigarette.
I gently led her to the chair and sat her on it. A little church sitting on a hillside.
The Parliament building sits in a large square.
He's got a computer sitting on his desk, but he doesn't use it.
My climbing boots were sitting unused in a cupboard.
The house has sat empty for 2 years.
I spent half the morning sitting in a traffic jam.
Well, I can't sit here chatting all day.
Are you just going to sit there complaining?
They both sat on the management committee.
He was the first journalist to sit in Parliament.
The council only sits once a month.
The court will sit until all the evidence has been heard.
The cat likes to sit on the wall outside the kitchen. Just sit tight. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
We're advising all our investors to sit tight till the market improves.
We've paid off the mortgage, so we're sitting pretty now.
How can you sit in judgment on somebody you hardly know?
He had never before been accused of stealing, and it did not sit well with him.
The weakness of the book is that it sits on the fence on important issues.
Workers are losing their jobs while the government sits on its hands and does nothing.
Tracy is sitting her GCSEs this year.
They were preparing children to sit for the entry examination. She sat for Holman, Hunt and Millay.
We sat around for a bit, chatting.
Sit back and relax. I'll open a bottle of wine.
Don't just sit back and wait for new business to come to you. I'm not going to sit by and watch a man go to prison for something I've done.
It was good to be sitting down eating dinner with my family.
Sit down, Amy. You look tired.
Sit yourself down and have a drink.
I helped her into the room and sat her down in an armchair. The 3 of us need to sit down and have a talk.
Sit down and work out just what you spend.
Would you like to sit in on some of my interviews?
This is Alan James sitting in for Susie Williams on the mid-morning show.
I sent my application about 6 weeks ago, and they've just been sitting on it.
She had 2 weeks to sit it out, while she waited to hear if she had got the job.
She was prepared to sit out the years of Jack's jail sentence. Johnson sat out the game with a shoulder injury.
I wasn't the least bit interested in all the speeches I had to sit through.
He was sitting up in bed reading his book.
She sat up and reached for her glass.
I'll sit you up on the pillows and you'll be nice and comfortable.
Just sit up straight and stop slouching.
Sometimes we just sit up and watch videos all night. If Maria succeeded, then everyone would sit up and take notice.